And I'll do the small introduction. So welcome to the EKA STEM Pro, an educational STEM program for young researchers focused on building strong partnerships between universities and industry in Ukraine. EKA STEM Pro is an initiative of the Fund of the President of Ukraine for Education, Science and Sports, delivered in partnership with the University of Warwick, with the support of the UK Ukraine Academic Diaspora Network and the UK Foreign Commonwealth Development Office. It's a great pleasure to welcome our speakers today. Dirk Schaefer, SMA Engagement Lead, and the Professor Sudhesh Kumar, Vice President of Health at University of Warwick. So we're delighted to have you both and with us today. And Dirk, over to you.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're all well, and I'm really delighted to be involved in this great program. I was delighted when Bo reached out and asked me if I could step in and tell the audience a little bit about the Science Park and how we support businesses, and especially how we work together with the university and how it all works. So a little bit, by the way, can you see my presentation? Is it shared properly? Perfect.
Yes.
Amazing. First of all, a little bit about myself. So my name is Dirk Schaefer, I work for University of Warwick Science Park. I'm the SME engagement lead, and I have a number of roles in the Science Park. On the one hand side, I run the startup incubator Ignite in the Science Park. I'm a business growth advisor on a funded business support program, and I run the Science Park marketing as well. And I run the technical marketing agency of the Science Park, which is market development projects for companies wanting to enter new markets or identify new market opportunities. So it's a very broad role, and the best title they could find for me was SME engagement lead, which isn't exactly correct to my role, but that's all good. So what I thought is, I assume that you don't have a lot of knowledge about our Science Park, so I give you just a very quick, in a nutshell, overview of how we operate and what we are and what our raison d'être is. So we are one of the oldest science parks in the UK. We were launched in 1984, and the very Margaret Thatcher opened this, the Venture Centre, our headquarters, in 1984 in Coventry. We are wholly owned by the University of Warwick, but we're a commercial business in our own right. So that means we have a hybrid business objectives. On the one hand, we support the university with their regional engagement, and on the other hand, we need to make sure that we're doing that profitably. So we have some 160 resident businesses in our science park, and they are spread across 5 different innovation centers. And we are the business support activity that I work for, amongst others. We're supporting over 500 businesses a year. So what a science park is about, and our science park is about, and other science parks are about, is we're providing the perfect environment for tech-based businesses to thrive, and we're providing the right space for the right companies, and we augment that with specialist business support. We are sector agnostic in terms of the companies we're supporting and the companies that are locating with us, but we are exclusively working with tech-based businesses. And those businesses also need to have high growth potential, and they need to have the potential to engage in a research collaboration with the University of Warwick as well. So we're quite picky in terms of the companies we work with or that we're offering space to. Our science park, we're hosting startups, we're hosting scale-ups, and we're hosting large international businesses. So you have in parts complete supply chains, like, for example, automotive supply chains in the science park right at your doorstep, which is quite attractive for many businesses wanting to, for example, access Bosch or Jaguar Land Rover or Lotus, or whichever other business that is. So as a science park, we contribute towards the local innovation ecosystem. And, following the great presentation of David Plum and Tim Hart in the old year before Christmas from Warwick Innovation District, we are, part as a science park, as a business, we are part of innovation at Warwick, and we're intrinsically linked with the Warwick Innovation District, which you've heard about just before Christmas. And you will have heard about the great activities that Warwick Innovation District deliver. And what we do in the Science Park is complementary to what Warwick Innovation District are delivering. So a company might go to Warwick Innovation District, go through one of their accelerators, get a certain kind of support, and then they move on into our incubator here in the Science Park, and then we work alongside Warwick Innovation District to add complementary support. What is very important for us and for overall proposition is that we interact with all parts of the university to some degree, and it's all about helping our companies innovate, to improve their journeys, to help them solve problems, but in return also help the university translate their research into concrete business applications. What is also attractive about the Science Park is that most of the companies we work with are coming to us from the outside. So it's not just spin-outs or student businesses, it's local businesses that look for certain support, that are innovating, and that need certain supports, which we can provide. And there could be a cross-referral from Warwick Innovation District to us and vice versa. So I thought I'd explain that to start with, because it's not immediately apparent how this all works out. So Warwick Science Park is about 4 decades of innovation heritage. We have a broad range of different companies. We have biotechs, we have medtechs, we have automotive engineering companies in our midst. We have deep tech companies, we have software companies, we have what we describe enabling technologies or digital technology companies that go across a number of different market verticals. What you see here on the picture on the left-hand side is the infamous Sinclair C5, which was concepted here in the Science Park. Sinclair Automotive was one of our first tenants moving into the Science Park in 1984, and they developed this infamous electric vehicle, which failed, but Sir Clive Sinclair moved on and developed many other great things, including personal computers and so on. What you see on there is a company, they are developing AI cancer diagnosis systems, and then you have smart car control systems in terms of Vistion. That's a larger international company that's located in the Science Park, and a forensic science company. So we have a number of innovation centers. Our headquarters is at the Venture Center on the University of Warwick campus. So we are just right in the middle of the campus, and with very easy access to all the different departments, all the different activities at the University of Warwick. At the Venture Center, we have a startup incubator, we have a business lounge, we have commercial offices for larger companies, and then we have even larger offices, which we call scale-up spaces, where companies do some research and development and need more industrial space. So our message to the outside world is, if once you move into the Science Park as a 1-person startup or 2-person startup, you'll actually never have to move out, because we will be able to accommodate some very serious growth in your business. And this is something we are looking for companies that grow with us. Then we have a range of business innovation centers. We have an innovation center in Binley on the other side of Coventry. We are also in the town of Warwick, which is not too far from Coventry, and in Solihull. And we also manage the Wellesbourne Innovation Campus on behalf of the university, so where we have all kinds of different exciting companies that we are hosting and supporting. This is a map of where we are, and to put it into context, on the next slide, this is the West Midlands Innovation Corridor, and all our innovation centers are smack bang in the middle of this technology corridor. And this is not an accident. This is all entirely planned. And we are locating us where the businesses are that need our support. Wanted to highlight a couple of companies and just to show you the breadth of the companies and the width of the companies that we're supporting. A company that has struck the headlines many times in the last few years is a company called Moja. They are developing a motion-based measurement system which replaces expensive laser-based systems, and they have been very successful. They started out in our incubator, and it started with a patent. So our founder, who also was an investor at our Minerva Business Angel Network, has been sitting on a patent for 20 years, which is some amazing foresight, I think. And then technology moved along, i.e. mobile phones had the right technology or accurate enough sensors to be able to be used together with their motion measurement system. And so they've developed a range of products and then moved away from product to software subscription services. So that's a really good, successful business, a Double Kings Award winner. And in 2023, they were the fastest growing manufacturer in the UK in the FT 1000 ranking. And so they joined us as a startup. They are now a scale up, and you can buy their products internationally in many main markets. And then at the other end of the scale, Robert Bosch Limited, which is the e-mobility arm of the Bosch company, initially working with the university and then starting to do research collaborations with the university. And then they liked it so much, they wanted to stay and took initially a smaller scale-up unit in the science park, and then kept expanding and taking bigger businesses. And they have now consolidated their whole e-mobility activity into the science park and moved teams from other regions in the UK into the science park, and which we're very proud about. And this sort of demonstrates the strength of our partnership with the university and how we can together achieve more. So this is a very wordy slide, but so I've just included it because it sort of underpins the wider proposition of the science park. The science park is not just about having great offices and great support, but we're at the doorstep of a world-leading university where you can get access to students, knowledge transfer partnerships, facilities, research, training, and so it's just an amazing proposition overall to have the university in our ecosystem. And it is a magnet for companies to come to the science park, amongst others. The science park is not just about property, but we're providing specialist business support services, and there are a range of supports that we provide. The pillars of the support we provide is, first of all, providing companies with help to access finance. Every tech-based businesses at some point, and very often at many points in their existence, need to raise some kind of funding. It is not within the skill set of your average entrepreneur to be able to raise funding, so you need to get support to access funding. So we help companies access equity funding, debt funding, and grant funding, and many companies get all of it at some point. Then the next one is access to markets. Without having access to markets or knowledge of the markets that you are targeting, you will not be able to raise finance. So we always have provided access to finance and access to market support in tandem together. And then the third pillar is access to incubation, meaning giving companies access to a startup mentor that helps them, take the first steps to help finish the product development or help commercialize the product that they're developing. And then very important is to have access to skills and knowledge. Access to skills, as a founder of a business, you need to have more skills than you really possess. I'll talk about that in more detail. And so there are many different ways how you can get skills into the business. So you can either upskill yourself. You can go to workshops and find out about a certain topic. And there are workshops, free workshops everywhere on the internet or locally where you are. So make use of that. Then you could look at, identifying a co-founder with a certain skill set that's not in your business. But then how do you find this co-founder? So we have networks and certain events where this might happen. So we have, for example, an Ignite alumni network where companies come together that we have supported in the past. And so there are lots of skills in the room that might be useful to another business in the room. Access to knowledge is obviously the university research from the university and how companies can access that to help them solve business challenges or to help the university get their research out into the open world. So we have some specific programs that we're running. Business Ready on the left-hand side is our government-funded business support program, where we work with startups and scale-ups to help them access funding, access markets, access skills and knowledge. So we do that with a team of in-house advisors. I'm one of them. We also have an access to a team of external specialists with specialist knowledge that we do not have in the team. And we run a very extensive workshop program so that entrepreneurs can access certain skills that they are lacking, or other events so that they can bump into somebody that might have a certain skill set that looks of interest. Then in the middle, it's our Ignite Incubator, which is a 12-month program for startups. We're supporting student startups, we're supporting University of Warwick spin-outs, and we're supporting local companies by giving them access to subsidized offices in the science park, to an incubation office, and access to a startup mentor to help them get started in good order and to network them and to help them in any way, shape, or we can. Alongside that, on the right-hand side is our Minerva Business Angel Network, which is one of the oldest angel networks in the UK. We've run this for over 31 years now, and this comes in at the point where companies raise their first seed funding round. So anything from £50,000 to up to £500,000. And the way we do that is we have business angels that subscribe to Minerva as investors, and they attend events where we give them access to curated business propositions to invest into. We don't actually invest ourselves, but it's all our individual investors that are, trying to build a portfolio of investments. Now, it is true that the investment landscape is slightly down, not in overall terms, but first investments are certainly down in the UK, whereas follow-on investments are up. And so that means overall investments are sort of at the same level as the last year. So that's a challenge, and that's what we're trying to address by signing up more investors, constantly signing up more investors into our networks, and help needy companies get the right investment at the right time. We also run the West Midlands Global Growth Programme, which is a soft landing program which gives foreign-owned companies that locate with us access to free space where they can work from, and access to our business support activities. So that is something that might be of interest to you in general if you're looking to start a business with international footing. Then there are schemes in other countries that support foreign-owned businesses that locate within their country. Oh, I've completely forgotten to mention that we are that for the second year running we have been named in the Financial Times as one of Europe's leading startup hubs. Although we are a very small activity, or very small, so a local regional activity, we have made it into that ranking, which puts us in the top 5% of startup hubs in Europe, which we're very proud of. We're not standing still. We have post-COVID, we have realized that the way entrepreneurs engage with startup hubs like ours has changed substantially. So we had to rekindle our incubator, and which led us to open our first business lounge, which opened at the Venture Center in Coventry last year, and we're rolling that other business lounges out into our other innovation centers because there are lots of startups that need support, but that don't necessarily need an office, but all they need is a space to go to every now and then where they can do some work from, but more importantly, where they can do some networking and bump into like-minded founders and get some additional benefits from that. So, what I mentioned earlier is we have also a couple of years ago started our Ignite Incubator Alumni Network, which brings together the companies that we are currently supporting and that we have supported in the past. What I mentioned earlier about skills, every person that's in the network has a certain skill set, and together it's just amazing the kind of skills that are in the room of every meeting and of the network. So we actively go out to companies to talk about their challenges and invite other members of the network to contribute towards helping them solve their challenges. And this works really well. So those conversations at those alumni network meetings get taken into the business lounge now, which is exactly what we're trying to achieve. We're not standing still as a science park. We've also realized that lab spaces are very hard to come by in the West Midlands, and especially in Coventry and Warwickshire, and that we have seen a lot more high quality biotech and medtech spin-outs coming from the University of Warwick to us. So this led us to start construction on refurbishment project, refurbishing one of our scale-up units into hybrid lab spaces. So there are collaboration spaces in there, some modern laboratory spaces, some biophilic event spaces. I don't even know what that is, but you can probably tell me later, as well as some office space. So it's construction has started on this building, and next year, beginning of next year, this will be completed, and really look forward to having this into our portfolio of spaces. So because you might be trying to start a business yourself. So my advice to you, if you were to start a business, if you were to spin out a business, is do not do it alone. There's a lot of advice, so you can get some advice locally, and it's a bit along the lines of what Tim Hart said in just for Christmas. There are tech transfer offices, there are science parks. They will always be providing certain support services, innovation centers, incubators, accelerators, and other business support programs. Yeah, and try and upskill yourself. You are a specialist, you're an expert in your field of research, but you're not necessarily an expert in starting and running a business. So, now is a good time to start looking for certain courses to take, or maybe your university offers that. But yes, there's an awful lot out there. And try and find a co-founder if you haven't got one yet. And ideally, that co-founder will have complementary skills. So you might be more CTO, but you might, so it might be interesting for you to have a CEO or a business development or marketing or a sales director on board from day one. To help you focus on your research and development, and they then can look at all the nitty-gritty parts of business development and getting started in good order. But finding a co-founder, if you haven't already, is easier said than done. I would always start with friends, family, colleagues, or advisors. So people that are known to you, people that you're already dealing with, or people that deal with friends of yours or family of yours, before going out wider and looking for somebody that you don't know. There are networking events that are themed where you might bump into certain people with a certain skill set. There are online databases like, I don't know if you've heard of F6S, but this is where quite a large number of startups and founders network and post about skills they need, and I need a chief technical officer for my business here and there. So there are a number of different ways of doing that. And then following what Tim hard set on, so Ukraine does world-leading research, you should be thinking global from day one. And as I said earlier, there are many countries in the world that have specific services for companies, incoming companies that they then support, introduce to certain networks, give them space to work from, and other initiatives and incentives. So don't do it alone. Think global, and don't leave a stone unturned. And the reason why you don't want to do it alone is because of the unknown unknowns. This is a very dangerous, so the problem is you don't even know that you've got a problem. And because of that, the more people you have around you, the more likely they might have come across something that might be a threat to you and your business in the future. And that's why don't do it alone, and go network, go find contributors to your business, talk to science parks, talk to tech transfer offices, and have fun. So I think that's the last slide. Yes, it is. And that's me. That's how you can contact me. I'm very happy to stay in contact. And if you've got any questions, then I'll be very happy to try and help.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So we have the first question. Artem, please go ahead.
Hi. Thank you very much for very interesting presentation and useful insight regarding the business. I haven't started business yet, but I hope it would come, and everything is still ahead of me. And in the beginning, you mentioned that the university fully owns the science park, and which is operated as commercial business. And my question is, do you think that this hybrid model might have some limits comparing with the fully private innovation hub? Because in at least my university, sometimes it's very difficult to get any approvals on difficult things, right? And I think private business.
So you've already answered the question. It has got positive sides and negative sides. Not everything is positive, and that's perfect. We understand that. University of Warwick, as you've heard, and other universities are very process driven, and so what we need to do is change our processes to go along with the university's processes. There's no other way, and so we've done that. And if the university changes their processes, then we change ours. And so are we as agile as we could be? Probably not. But then again, so we have the firepower of a world-leading university behind us. So it's a balancing act, and altogether it's a very symbiotic relationship. And on the positive side of things, we just need to work. You just need to see how you best work with processes and red tape. So it is what it is. I'm still smiling.
There are more advantages than disadvantages of the hybrid model.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you very much.
Jana, please go ahead.
Good day. Thank you for interesting presentation. I'm interested in your view, how could the Minerva Business Angels model work in countries where innovation ecosystems are still developing, for example, in Ukraine, and particularly in the field of hydrogeology or in the natural sciences? Maybe you can say some key factors what you can consider to success in our country.
So in general, to start with, starting and running a business angel network is not an easy feat. So because you're looking for people to join your network that do not know that they are investors. And so it's a constant, education piece. So all you need is people with money to join your network, basically. They might not be investors, and so that's something we're doing, and we're doing that by running knowledge workshops, how to become an investor, and what are the tax advantages of being an investor. And then on the other end, you need to do a number of activities, and it's not about accessing like public money or government money. It's about accessing individuals, but you need to find those individuals first, and you can do that anywhere in the world. But I'm not saying it's easy, but because investors don't know they're investors. So you need to do some education and then, lure them in to join the network and ask them to pay for that. So then that pays your bills. That's what we do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, Victoria, your question.
Hello. Again, thank you very much for such useful and interesting information. And my question probably mostly belongs to the academia aspect. So in your experience, what are the most effective ways to integrate university researchers and lecturers into exactly industry ecosystem, maybe to strengthen innovation outcomes? So do you have some tips?
Yes, really good question. I have to think about that. So we run a number of events and activities with different departments, and I've seen the David Plum's talk from before for Christmas as well. The university is big. There are many departments, there are many researchers, there are many activities. So to be on top of everything is very difficult. But what I would do and what we're doing is we're looking for the right departments where the right research is happening that could immediately benefit our tenants or the companies we're supporting. Like, for example, so we have a very strong collaboration with Warwick Manufacturing Group, WMG, because a lot of the companies we work with are in that space. And so we have a lot of companies that would engage in that, in those kinds of events. And there's also an initiative at University of Warwick and across the UK, which is called EPSRC IAA, which is designed to fund projects, university research that engages with industry. And that is on all the STEM subjects in particular. So there has to be a EPSRC research, whatever that's called in Ukraine, and then you can get a grant to work with a business and further your research with. So there are some activities. And unfortunately, they have to be funded. So the answer is partly funding. Throw some money at it, and then it'll work. But otherwise, what we can do as a science park is we have joint events with different departments where we have interest from our tenants and the companies we're supporting, and then companies start developing relationships and then talk about their challenges. Now, there isn't always a match. So companies expect, okay, we're going to the university and we have this problem and they need to help us with it. It doesn't work like that. So it needs to match with the research interest
Of course.
of the particular department, and the particular department might not react as quickly. And that's not only Warwick, that's everywhere in the world, by the way. So it is about matchmaking as well. So matchmaking is another big factor here. And that's something we are doing relatively good in the science park as well. You know, sometimes the company approaches us saying we need this and that. Then we look, oh, but Warwick doesn't offer this and that. And then the best advice is to say, don't go to Warwick, go somewhere else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it's interesting and useful. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, thank you. So, Ilona, go ahead with your question.
Thank you a lot, Professor. I have a question a little bit in the context with previous, but in the another direction. In your presentation, you made accent to the local, that science park, focus local development and everything which together do for a local, But in the end, they think globally. I feel good because trends, tendencies, and in this way, I have a question. How your recommendation, tips, local authority make more closely to the science park, to the university, because business, you may show business, impact, some money you can receive. We have, for example, we are university, science park, we have some idea, you can receive more money, good. Sometimes local authority understand that common activities, business, university is good for territory, but some pessimist with some helping to these activities. And my question, how you work with local authorities?
So we are in a very fortunate position that we have a really good relationship with Warwickshire County Council, who has been funding our business support activity for over the last 4 years, which is amazing. So, but it's also a problem because we haven't got that same relationship with Coventry City Council. So we tend to have really good relationships with local authorities. For example, we're helping Warwickshire County Council with their current grant program for business development, which is good. Then our Business Ready program is funded through them. So it's as well a very good relationship, and I think may it last. So yes, so we need the local authority, and the local authority needs us, because we are one of the few specialist business support providers in the area, and they want to retain that. But yes, so let's see how that relationship continues in times of reduced funding, but so far so good.
Have you some example of co-finance some scientific idea, to commercialization in the future with a budget of local budget? I mean,
so a local grant only ever gets you further down the road. But what local grants do is they get you in a position where you can apply for larger national grants. So in the UK, we've got Innovate UK, and you need to provide a lot of information. You need to have lots of knowledge, market knowledge, and you need to have a good handle on your scientific or technical developments as well. And a smaller local grant helps you move one step up, where you can do some market due diligence, in investment readiness due diligence as well. And then you're hopefully in the position where you can access a national grant now that you're a bit further down the line. It doesn't always work, but that is, it's not a perfect world. And sometimes, some other finance needs to come in, like equity funding or debt funding, where you need to pay back what you're being given. And that's what I said earlier, tech-based companies raise a many number of times of funding and different kinds of pots of funding, sometimes equity, debt, and grant funding, or everything together. So it is a long journey.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Please, Roman, go ahead with your question, if you hear us.
Hello. I have one question to the speaker. How do you generate the revenue from your science park, or what is the main business model of your science park?
Great question as well. All questions are amazing. So we have a range of income sources, and so the main income is rent from properties that we're renting out to companies, and that is sort of transaction based. But we have, with the event of our business lounges, which I mentioned in a few slides ago, we have opened up to a membership subscription model as well, which we're expanding as well at the same time. So rental income at the moment is about good 70% of our income, maybe 80%. Then business support is 20%. And so we're just ramping up on the membership subscription side of things, which will be the fastest growing income stream in the science park, where we sell memberships to join lounges in our different innovation centers. We have and some of the business support money that we're receiving is government money to help us run certain activities.
Okay, and we have one more question.
Yes.
Are you IP owner, and can you take part in some equity or in new startups or spin-offs or not?
We do not invest in companies, so we stay clear of that, and I think that is something the university would not want us to do because of risks involved. And this is really where the tech transfer office comes in. They are experts and we are not.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. And the last question for now, Alina, please.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the presentation. I have maybe a simple question, but from your perspective, what is the best first step to engage with the science park if a project is still at idea or at MVP stage? Thank you very much, especially for medical startups.
Yeah, so so medical, that's fine. So that's tech-based. So we start talking very early with companies as well at the idea stage. So I think within a short space of time we can give you quite some useful feedback, initial feedback, and then you probably remember us at a later point thinking, oh, Dirk has given me some good advice, so I'll come back when I'm ready. So we're very happy to talk early stage as long as it's sort of the right sector. And then we might be able to refer you on to somebody else and then, do this and that with them and then come back once you've done this or that. So we are very accommodating in general, and we like to have early conversations because we know that, a little plant grows slowly, but eventually it grows mightily fast. So we talk to the plant very early on.
That's right. Yes, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
So thank you for all of your questions. I think that now I can hand it to Bo. Bo, please, let's present our next speaker.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ludmila. And thank you, Dirk, so much for sharing all of those valuable insights. I think
You're very welcome.
It's incredible to see all of those fantastic recognitions that the Science Park has had. And I know, I don't know if you mentioned it at the beginning, because of course I joined a couple of minutes late, but when I heard that Dirk has heard of Prilad, which of course is a big facility in Ukraine, many colleagues are aware of, it was just so exciting that colleagues of this caliber and so far from Ukraine geographically know about the amazing work that goes down on the ground. So really, really appreciate you taking the time and connecting with colleagues here today, but also more broadly.
An absolute pleasure.
Thank you. We'll move on to our next speaker. Dirk, you're more than welcome to stay along and listen in the background, but I know you've got lots of other things to do, so no pressure if you wanted to drop off.
I will listen, I will wait.
Thank you. So we've got Professor Sudhesh Kumar, who's the Vice President of Health at the University of Warwick, and has got so many different accolades and recognitions and awards as well. I will let him say a bit more about his profile and his work, but I think Professor Sudhesh Kumar will talk a little bit more about the innovation corridor that Dirk mentioned, and particularly the Arden Cross development and innovation that Warwick is involved with. So Sudhesh, over to you. Thank you so much for being with us tonight as well.
Thank you, and good evening to all of you. And I appreciate I'm what stands between you and dinner. Your stomachs must be rumbling by now because it's an hour later in Ukraine, I guess. 2 hours. Okay, so I promise I will stick to time. Now I'm going to attempt to share my presentation, and I'm not sure how to do this on.
It should be the green button at the bottom called share. You've got the co-ownership of the session.
Button, but
yeah. And if it doesn't work, feel free to email it to me. We've had this with.
I have emailed it.
Ah, okay. So let me see if I can. If you can't bring it up, I'll bring it up on my.
Apologies for this. I think I'm familiar with Teams, so I'm less familiar with Zoom. Right, while we are waiting for this slides to come up, I don't have very many slides, so I was just going to use them as a placeholder, so it doesn't really matter. So, as Bo said, my name is Sudhesh Kumar. So I'm an endocrinologist by background, a clinician, and most of my career I've also been an academic. So, I actually came to Warwick 23 years ago, having worked at universities of Manchester and Birmingham before that in junior roles elsewhere. And I arrived as a professor of medicine, but actually slightly, it wasn't part of a career plan, but I found myself being made the dean of medicine about January 1st, 2015. So 8.5 years, I was Dean of Medicine at Warwick. And of course, so as an academic, and again, as someone responsible for medicine at Warwick, it was my business to look at the totality of our research, which includes research impact, it includes commercialization of research, etc. And along the way, what happened is that I got involved in a few other activities outside the UK, outside the university. In fact, I also have some experience of enterprise as well. But eventually in mid-2023, I decided, after 8.5 years is enough. I want to do something else. So but at that time, the Vice Chancellor and President of the university suggested I stay on for a couple of days, that's why I came into this new role, Vice President Health. Vice President, because I didn't want to get involved in committees. That's something I've done enough of. So I just wanted to focus on particular things and just get on with it. So I'm spared those things. And I'll tell you why health in a minute. We don't have this in other disciplines, but this is very much an experiment at Warwick. So I'll explain what we are doing. Besides my role at Warwick, I'm also president of something called the Association of Innovation, Research and Technology Organizations. Now, this is an interesting sector. They turn over about 7 billion a year in R&D. So it's quite big, and people are often surprised to hear that. This is applied research. This is research close to business. They sit, so essentially they work closely with, they don't typically own IP, although in some cases they do, but they work with businesses to help produce better technologies and also help with commercialization, etc. Actually, at Warwick, we have one of the ATO members within the university, which is most unusual. I'm not aware of that. Actually, there is one other university I can think of where you have that. This is WMG. So not unsurprisingly, WMG is the part of the university that does quite a lot of business-facing research. So those are two significant roles. But besides that, I'm also drawing on some experience in some other roles. I've been a mentor on something called the NHS Innovation Accelerator for many years now, and I currently mentor a new startup and help them in their journey, and a few other jobs like that. So that's my background. So let me explain a bit about the context for creation of my role about 2.5 years ago and what we are doing. So the last talk you heard about the Warwick Science Park, which is an established entity. They've been around 40 years. What I'm going to talk about is things that didn't exist when I started, and some things have started getting established. But what I'm going to be talking about mostly is what we are going to do in the next 5 to 10 years. So first question is why? First, why health? Health is a very big application domain for research. And not unsurprisingly, it's a multi-trillion-dollar business worldwide and consumes a significant proportion of government budget in the UK and elsewhere. Of course, it'll be different in other countries where depending on how health is paid for, but nevertheless, there's a significant amount of money that goes in. And I think the other reason is when we looked at data, about 50% of all the spin-outs we had at Warwick turned out to be related to health. And majority of them were not from the medical school. Majority of them were from various departments across Warwick that happened to develop something that was relevant to health. So that is something which is interesting, but also an opportunity for the university, and that was an imperative for doing this. We also wanted better relationships and a more systematic process for engaging with our regional partners. So that was another one. But of course, a big imperative was something the university has an interest in called Art and Cross. And I will describe all these to you the next half an hour or so, or probably less. So a little bit about the UK system for funding R&D, because that's relevant to all of this. When you ask why do this. See, and research councils that we've got something called UK Research and Innovation. They spend about 68% of all government expenditure on R&D in the UK. It's a big funder. So you're under 10 billion a year in R&D spending through various research councils, through something called Innovate UK, which is mainly business-facing research, and then for infrastructure funding, including, I guess, a souped-up version of a science park. They call things like STFC, etc. So that is significant amounts of monies, which universities take note of how to receive that money and make sure they maximize the potential in terms of R&D. Now, but how the priorities have changed over the years. If you go back 25 years, and I've been around for long enough to remember, the main thing we look for when we hired academics was, if they're not teaching, then if it's for research, it is doing investigator-driven research. Whatever is important to the investigator. And actually, it's blue sky research in quite a bit of time. Fewer academics did mission-oriented or use-inspired research. That wasn't considered, top-notch research often, which is a mistake. That was the job of industry to do that. So there was this kind of dichotomy. And working with business is often complicated with the university. Somebody raised the question about bureaucratic process, etc. I have experiences myself. It can be quite difficult to even do a contract with the business, etc. for R&D. So it can be done, but it just consumes a lot of time and energy. So both for the company and the academics involved. But things have changed. So, and most clearly articulated a few months ago, but it was coming for the last few years, and that is the UK government decided it wants to have economic growth and jobs and actual economic outcomes for society as a key driver for R&D that are done by universities. So they're still going to support investigator-driven research. If I put numbers now, roughly 50% of all the money spent by UKRI will be on investigator-initiated research or based around investigators' questions. About 25% is going to be government mission-oriented. So government has published an industrial strategy. They want to now decide what are the right questions that we should be asking. And part of the reason for this is that the recent thinking is that UK can't lead in all parts of research in every discipline. It's a bit like approaching the Olympics. You can't win gold medals in everything. So you've got to decide what are your events you're most likely to see gold medals and then invest in those. So that's the approach they're taking. I mean, this is sort of a loose analogy, but that's roughly. So, and it's quite broad, the budget is big, so they can still support quite a bit, but not everything is going to get the same type. Now, this is a difficult thing when you deprioritize something. Nobody wants to be deprioritized, so it remains to be seen how successful this approach is, but that's what they've articulated. Then another 25% is support for business. Now, with this sort of clarity in terms of research funding, I think there's an onus on the university to do something likewise. That is, we need to know what our winners are. What are the areas that we can really be top-notch and focus on those in the same way. So that's the approach I've taken in health as well. And I think this is largely facing research impact mostly. So having spent many years writing papers and then managing R&D as a dean, now in this part of my career, I've decided to do something to address the ecosystem. So first, internal in Warwick. One of the things we did is, and I learned a lot doing this. I thought I knew Warwick well, having spent so many years at Warwick, but I was surprised to learn so much because I engaged 2 external consultants to come and tell us, to review data and do interviews, etc., and tell us what are the areas that look strong when seen with a different lens, not from department, but from outside. So what emerged is that academically, we are strong in the data science area generally. I can give you more detail, but then women's health research. And these areas, some of them, if you look at scale, they will be of different scales. So, for example, healthcare organization leadership may not attract that much money because it's not very expensive research, but it's, again, good quality and it's a distinctiveness. Then advanced manufacturing materials, that's a loose frame, but I think I would say mostly physics, chemistry, those sort of disciplines, and even engineering. So those sort of disciplines had good health-facing work. Mental health and well-being done by a number of departments across Warwick. Clinical trials and evaluative sciences. Now, interdisciplinary biomedical research, I would divide into two parts. One is infection-facing research, where we have some good assets. The second one is cell biology, where again, and I can tell you why I picked these out, but so these were picked as our priority areas. It doesn't mean we exclude anyone else that emerges over time, but it's good to be aware of what your strengths are. And of course, the other thing that came out is that at Warwick, we have good professional services. You've heard from Dirk earlier about Science Park, etc. That's actually quite good as an example across UK. So we can deal with that. We can work with that. We need to connect these two a little bit better than we have done in the past. And that's something, and also work more closely with the purchaser of healthcare-related products, which in the UK is a monopoly. It's largely the NHS. That's the National Health Service. Could I have the next slide, please? Right. So that's the context. So in the last section, what I did is finally, after having done a bit of consultancy, I established something called a health steering board, which has representation from across University of Warwick, different departments, different professional services, all with the view to better coordinate and project better what we do in health. And this is already beginning to pay some dividends, as I'll explain a bit, because government again has changed the way it did. UK is very centralized. All the grants are managed centrally. But for the first time, UKRI has decided to route grants through regions. We have many mayoral regions across the UK. So money is being handed out to different regions. So in the West Midlands, we got a 50 million pot. So the region, the mayoral authority, we work with them and we help to create future engines for growth based around three sectors mainly in our bid, which is clean tech, which is largely around energy, second health tech, and the third create tech. But other regions in the UK will be doing other areas, etc. So that's something where this is new, that where we are working with the mayoral authority to move this forward. Now, you heard about the Science Park. Now that works on a classic edge of campus model. It's the vicinity of the university that acts as a magnet to many people. Not all the people who are based there work with University of Warwick or have a direct connection, but it definitely helps. You create a kind of a magnet and get them to come there. And now what we got with Arden Cross is a somewhat different opportunity. So for a bit of context, so UK has a rail network that is really old. And nowadays it's getting rather busy with freight as well as passenger traffic. And a good example of this is the London to Birmingham rail. So it takes me 1 hour, 10 minutes to go from Birmingham International. Actually, you can see it on your right in the map. Actually, the airport is shown there, where it says Arden Cross. You can see, I think it shows a plane. Maybe not, but that's the airport. And also a rail station. Now, I take that journey very frequently in my roles. And I can tell you nearly half the time, the train never gets there on time, partly because of all these other problems. So it's not just a case of it being 1 hour, 10 minutes, which you might think is not bad. But there's a need to increase capacity, and that's why UK has now launched a high-speed rail 2 initiative, where the train will connect from Euston in central London to West London, which is Old or Common, the second blue dot you see in the picture on the right. And the third dot higher up is Arden Cross. It's going to be called the Birmingham International Exchange Station, but HS2 Interchange Station. And the last one is in the middle of the city of Birmingham. So 2 stops in London, 2 stops in Birmingham. But crucially, this cuts the journey time to London, from central London to 38 minutes, and from West London to 32 minutes. In West London, it happens to be adjacent to the Imperial White City campus, which is very handy for what we are planning to do. And now what we are working with Imperial on is a growth corridor that will connect all these entities. Now, I'm showing you, now you see a picture of what the place looks like. This is not how it looks now. Right now, it looks like a muddy field next to a railway station, which you can't actually see on this picture. It's to the left. And you see horizontally, there's kind of a line, a kind of a bridge. That's a monorail that will come in the future to connect to the interchange station, which you'll see in the middle of the slide. It's a new HS2 high-speed rail interchange station. Immediately next to it on your left, there are some buildings. That's where there's going to be a new health innovation campus that Warwick's been appointed the main architect of curating what we do there. We will not occupy lots of space there, but we will have a presence, but we don't plan on owning buildings, that's not the model. I'll explain what we plan to do, but it's to bring, and we are going to welcome other universities, because to make it really world leading and really have a national and international significance, you need to bring the best players there. So that's what we are trying to do there. To the north of that campus, there's even manufacturing, and to the south, you see other things, facilities like 1 and 2 bedroom apartments for staff who might work there, and equally, or people who want to commute to London from there, and other supporting things like entertainment, shopping, etc. There'll be a bit of that, but the heart of it is the health innovation campus. Next, thank you. So this is actually talked about as UK's best connected regeneration site. So it's a big opportunity. Those of you who are familiar with the UK will know of a place called King's Cross, which I remember as a complete dump. Nobody wanted to go there, but it was 1 square mile to the north of London. They have now transformed it, and that 1 square mile generates more of London's GDP than any other part of London, including the city of London. So that's what's happened. So this area is less than half of King's Cross, but you know what? I'll be happy with even a quarter of what King's Cross has managed to do, because this is not London. So there's going to be an advantage London has. But the good thing is we connect directly to that campus, because this train will take us there in 38 minutes. That's a huge advantage. So the focus is health tech. Now, this happens to be a major part of the industry base of West Midlands, albeit with one weakness. In the West Midlands, we have a large cluster of small and medium-sized companies in the health tech space, devices, database services, etc. Trouble is, they're all small and medium-sized companies. We have very little presence of the large companies. We don't have the Microsofts, the Googles, the Oracles, those things. And we need that as well. For a healthy ecosystem, we need a mix of different kinds of scales of organizations. And we also need more of focus on scale-ups. So that essentially is what we are going to do there. So space is going to be part of it, because space exists there, but actually more of my focus is on creating platforms to help, not just businesses, but also other supporting entities to succeed. And we can draw on skills we already have at the Science Park. I see that as probably one part of it. There'll be one entity perhaps doing that, but this is all work in progress, because we haven't actually nailed this down fully. But main way I see it working is we are attracting national institutions there, we are attracting other entities there, and they will cluster into a few areas that I'll go through in the next slide. But we are also creating a cluster for health tech research, because this place is about 20-25 minutes from Warwick campus now, but not far from other universities in the region, and even London for that matter. So it's a great place to coalesce around. So we will have a number of facilities we are planning to create. So could I have the next slide, please? Oh, yes. So community healthcare and outreach is another part of it. We are going to have healthcare providers as well there. And of course, education and skills is part of it too. Next slide. So we have been working on what we will build there. An early development is, and this is kind of my blueprint for how I'm planning at the moment. So because we are looking for a large company, well, basically I found one, and they do devices. I'm not going to talk about the institutions because it's market sensitive, but this entity is big. They're worth over 10 billion. I know they can locate themselves anywhere, but I think we are talking to them about creating an entity essentially as an anchor for our education and skills hub. Now, without going into detail, I mean, it's about devices. So, and they're a big player. So it's unlikely any other player like that will come and join if they're big. But other small and medium sizes companies may find them attractive. In addition, we've got a national institution that I can't again name because we have signed it. Now, they are also interested in locating there alongside this. And I also see that Warwick will have some of our own interests there through that, but also connecting into a main campus. The health tech hub, again, we are looking at it. This is a bit more difficult because we need a big player to land there first, because you can't create a health tech hub with just SMEs. First of all, they struggle to pay rent because they're still growing. So I think, but again, using the kind of approach I mentioned, and we are talking to a few potential players there. It's also possible we could have an entity like that run through Warwick, but that has some other challenges, which again is probably out of scope to talk about that here. Then there is also healthcare provision, and again there is interest from private providers as well as certain parts of some regional healthcare providers who want to base themselves there. Now, having manufacturing accessible on site is a great advantage. We hope to use that as well to attract some players there. And of course, our conferencing business is looking at having a conferencing site there for a different size and scale of conference to what we have on campus. And probably a different kind of clientele as well, people who want to come and go from London on the same day, etc. So it may or may not be Warwick running that, but we will have those facilities. Now, this is all going to take time. We are in planning at the moment. We expect a big announcement end of February, early March from government. And then we hope the first building will go live end of 2030, early 20, roughly 5 years from now. Could I have the next?
So that's just in the interest of time, because I know you have to leave 5:02, and we're now at 10 minutes to 5. I'm wondering if perhaps we can just take a couple of minutes to take some questions that people might have, or did you really want to finish going through the slides? You let me know what you think.
Would you just scroll through quickly in the next one? I forgot what I'm...
Yep, we've got that.
I don't have time to explain this, but this is a key part of what we're doing, which providing platforms not delivered by not all by Warwick. It'll be by various players. But I can tell you already we've had some success in that. The clinical trials accelerator, we've already launched 2 since we started talking about this. We didn't need the space, but we've already launched that. And okay, that's last one. I just wanted to mention that we've also started something called the Central England Health Partnership, which is a cluster organization of regional partners that we pulled together to drive all this. In the last page of the slide, you have some websites which will tell you more about, probably it's not well visible for you, but yeah, that's it.
we'll make sure to share the slides if you're happy with us to do that. There's so much going on, and it's great to hear that like the facilities is one part of the equation, but actually it's the conversations and the relationships. I'm wondering if perhaps, I think we have 4 minutes. We need to release Professor Kumar to travel tonight. So perhaps we can take 2-3 questions, depending on how big the questions are, if that's okay, Sudhesh.
Yeah, that's fine.
Dear participants, your questions, you can also put in box if you can tell us something. If you have internet connection issues or something.
Everyone is ready for dinner.
Too much information for short period.
That's a lot, yeah.
Yes, agree. We have a question from Mihailo. Mihailo, go ahead, please.
Hello. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Or not?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, great. So my question is about infrastructure. I see it is a large infrastructural project, and you mentioned it somehow depends on the railway to communicate to link this project with another facilities in London. And I've done a bit of research on British Railways while preparing my policy memo, and now I know that the costs of maintenance are growing. Are you including in your planning future evolution of transport and future of this particular railway?
So first of all, I don't see what I'm doing as mainly an infrastructure project. The infrastructure is an enabler, sure, and it helps. But I see what I'm doing mainly is about academic culture and research culture. So what my major task is actually trying to engage academics across Warwick to actually think more about applications of their research. So that's the primary focus. And yes, creating a campus will help, but it doesn't help if academics don't engage, because we will then have lots of people from other companies coming and establishing. It'll just be an industrial park somewhere. That's not that. That's pretty boring in my view. Okay, it generates some revenue, but it's not what it's mainly about. So it's about creating business-facing, kind of expertise, etc. Because some academics are natural all-rounders, but most aren't. Some people will be very good at doing a particular niche research, but it's trying to get people to think about how their research might be applied and help. They're not going to be a CEO of a company, but at least they could actually help, disclose their discoveries and then help somehow in their translation into actual applications. Now, the connection with transport is this. Yes, the high-speed rail project is an important national infrastructure project. Yeah, it just happens to be here. We will do this even if it's not here, because that land and because the buildings will go up long before the high-speed rail is running, and we have existing rail network anyway. There's an airport next to it, so all of it is still relevant even before the HS2 appears. But HS2 definitely makes it much more attractive.
Thank you. We have a question from Taras in our chat. Dear Professor, so what do you think are the most promising projects in the medical industry right now?
Now everybody, depends on who you ask, everybody will mention AI in some shape or form, AI in discovery of new targets, AI in all kinds of applications, whether it's evaluating research, etc. So it's something that's not yet been realized, but you can see $1 billion pound company that's emanated from UK is actually based on using AI to find new drug targets. Exscientia, you can look it up. And so I think this will be clearly exploiting data to the fullest is actually a very exciting area. Then, of course, implantables, wearables, these are also really important areas. So, and precision medicine is another. So again, enabled by data, but so I think there's quite a lot. I think that's the computing power and being able to use that in discovery and application of medical, whether it's devices or pharmaceuticals. I see that as probably the most promising.
I think that's probably all we have time for, unless there's another question or a couple more minutes. I think Mahalo had a chance to ask his question, right? Great. Well, Sudhesh, I'm just conscious that you need to run off. I know that the group, if we had more time, you'd have a million more questions from the group. I'm sure you've seen how engaged they were with the earlier presentation, but just wanted to say a huge thank you from myself and everyone on the call today for being here with us and for sharing those insights. I hope it's okay to share. I've already shared the links from the slides, and hopefully we can also meet you in person when the group is here in session later this year in February. But thank you so much from me. Ludmila, I don't know if you wanted to say a few final words to close the session.
Thank you so much. And I think that it was so great tonight to hear your tips. And thank you all of our participants for your activity and for this evening in New Year. And again, New Year, Happy New Year for everyone. And see you next Tuesday. And also I mail you later with all of our records of 5 latest lectures. Thank you so much. Dear Dirk, dear Sudhesh, it was great. It was fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye-bye. All the best.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Have
your
a nice
time.
evening. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you so much.